All right, off to a good start this week. Got a big challenge down in Gainesville. Coach Napier's got a team that continues to improve each week. Played a great half of football 2 weeks ago against Georgia in the second half. Carried that over to their performance in College Station last Saturday with probably their best performance of the year and certainly a dominant second half against Texas A&M. They're good in all three phases. Obviously, everything starts with the quarterback. He's an elite player and a weapon every time the ball's in his hands, running, throwing, you name it. He's just so impressive to watch. Good defense, weapons everywhere on special teams. Similar to last week, we're going to have to go beat them. They don't beat themselves. They're number one in the SEC right now in turnover margin. They're one of the fewest penalized teams in the SEC as well. So they're doing a lot of things right and getting better each week. It'll be a great environment down in the swamp. I believe it's a sellout from what I heard, and should be a fantastic atmosphere. And looking forward to getting down there and playing on Saturday afternoon. Questions?
Shayna, you mentioned that BJ was going to have an MRI. Are the results of that back?
Results are back. I'd say he's day-to-day. Nothing long-term, just kind of see how quickly he can respond to treatment. He wasn't able to do much today in practice, and I'm sure you'll ask about the other guys as well. Marshawn was limited today, but told me he felt a lot better than he thought he was going to feel as well. So Spalding is done for the year. I know I mentioned that Saturday in Nashville. Hate that for him, but wish him well in his recovery. And then beyond that, it's a handful of guys that are questionable right now.
And specifically in the secondary, Shane, I mean, just because the bodies are getting kind of thin, any thought of maybe moving a couple of spare receivers over to take reps? Have you guys taken that step yet?
It's funny. Do you have our facility bugged? Because I literally was just in the defensive staff room talking about that with Clayton and Torian and the guys before I walked down here. We're thin just with injuries. There's no question about it. But we're not to that point yet. You hate to lose a Spalding and other guys that are banged up, but we're not to that point yet where we have to start moving people over yet. But we are thin, and thankfully, knock on wood, our starters for the most part are healthy. But certainly we've got some young guys, and fortunately, the way we practice allows our entire team to try and improve as the year goes along. So that's allowed the young defensive backs that haven't maybe played as much to get better throughout the season and potentially play them late in the season if we needed to in a bind.
Coach, I've been asking the players, Kai and Rush, but have you found this week that breakfast has been a little sweeter once you got that bowl eligibility locked up now moving forward?
It's sweeter, but by no means are we satisfied. Certainly, we're very proud to be bowl eligible. There's a lot of teams across the country right now that are sitting there with either 3 wins, 4 wins, or 5 wins that are fighting like crazy to get bowl eligible, storied programs in college football. So I don't take for granted being bowl eligible. It's a hell of an accomplishment in year 2 after 9 games, but we should not. We can be happy about it, but none of us we better not be satisfied. We better still be hungry. There's a lot left to accomplish. Talked about it as a team this morning. The guys that came back this year for another year when they didn't have to, Zach Pickens, Javon Gwynn, whoever, I don't think they came back just to go to a bowl. I think they had higher expectations than that, and let's try and be better than we were last year. Last year, our regular season record was 6-6, and we'd surely like to be better than that this year, but going to take a lot of work. But the way we practiced today looked like a team that was not satisfied with just having 6 wins.
Shane, you got a favorite Tom Petty song?
No. He's got a lot of good ones.
And I guess the run defense has been not great maybe the last 2 weeks. Watching film and kind of reviewing some of that stuff, what have been some of the biggest deficiencies in trying to stop the run?
I think going back to last week was just missed tackles, honestly. I mean, when you miss tackles, you give up explosive runs. And we got out of misfit a couple gaps against Vanderbilt for sure. That we weren't exactly where we needed to be, or we came in there with the proper, the incorrect leverage or whatever it may be, and then a run spit out of there. But typically, if you can fit the run the right way and at least tackle well, you you're going to be pretty good from a run defense standpoint. And we weren't good enough last week at tackling and certainly misfit some runs. But I don't think it's something we're in panic mode because we've been pretty good at it for the most part and handled some run games here leading up to that. We haven't been good enough the last couple of weeks for sure. And this is a really big challenge this week, not just tackling their running backs who are talented, but it's a really, really physical offensive line and a unbelievable quarterback as well that if he gets rolling, you're not going to catch him. So we've got to really be sound in fitting the run and getting 11 hats to the ball.
Hey. Anthony, what has stood out about him on film, and how does he kind of compare to some of the other guys you face? Your KJ Jeffersons and your Mike Wrights and all of that who caused problems for you this year.
His size and where do you want me to start? His size stands out. His speed stands out. His arm strength stands out. He's a guy. You saw it against it was LSU. He had a 80-something yard touchdown run where guys are just literally bouncing off of him. And I don't know who all of their players and their 40 times and all that, but if they got anybody on that team faster than him, it's scary because he's so fast, he's so athletic, he's hard to bring down, but then he's just got unbelievable arm strength. He can make every throw on the field, and he's immensely talented. And there's a reason when you look at some of the gurus out there and their draft projections and all that, there's a reason you see him as one of the top 4 or 5 quarterbacks in the draft for whenever he comes out. So he's really, really talented, and he's got some great players around him also.
Yeah, another one on Richardson. How do you feel like Clayton's defense has gone against mobile quarterbacks and being able to stop those guys? And what's the biggest key to being able to do that this week with the personnel you have this year?
Yeah, I think good. It's easy for people to point out, well, played Arkansas and it didn't go so well, or whoever. Well, there's also a lot of mobile quarterbacks we face that we've handled as well. And I think one goes back to putting together a great plan. 2, everybody just doing their job. And when you talk about stopping the run, and I've said it before, most people think, okay, well, that's the defensive line and the linebackers. Well, it's the secondary as well. We got to make sure that our defensive backs are fitting the run and coming up there with physicality and the proper leverage. It's effort to the ball, getting 11 guys around there. So I'm sure Clayton would tell you that you always need to be better, without a doubt. And we weren't good enough against Arkansas for sure. And certainly with Vanderbilt's quarterback last week, some runs popped out with him as well. And that's going to happen. They're going to make their plays as well. We just got to make sure that we do a good job of limiting the explosives and getting stops.
Shane, kind of a philosophical, bigger picture question is running the ball successfully and defense still the keys, the bedrock to winning in the SEC, or has that changed since your time when you first started in this league?
No, I believe that it's still critical. When we have our goals each week as far as how we want to win football games, and when we reach our goal of what we expect yards per carry for running the football, we're undefeated. We haven't lost a game ever since I've been here when we reach our goal of running the ball. Because I think when you're running the ball, all the other things that we talk about open up and present themselves. Explosive plays and staying on the field and not having a lot of third downs and all the other situational stuff. But I believe there's some high octane offenses. There's no question about it. But if you look back to last year, the 2 teams that played for the national championship last year, Georgia and Bama, if I'm not mistaken, they were number 1 and number 2 in stopping the run. So it's still, Kirby said it last week after the Tennessee game, you better stop the run first. Before you even worry about anything else, you got to stop the run. So, no, it's certainly, there's different style of offenses than when I got into coaching back in 2000, but I still believe that you've got to be able to run the ball effectively and you've got to be able to stop the run effectively to get to where you ultimately want to go.
Another deep philosophical question. How do you feel about the color orange? Because you're going to be seeing a lot of it the next few weeks.
As a color that I wear, I'm not against it by any stretch of the imagination. My alma mater was maroon and orange. Is their colors at Virginia Tech, but certainly it's we are going to be seeing a lot of it. So I'm not a fan of orange this month for sure, but 365 days a year, I don't say that I don't wear it. I mean, I think I've got a pair of tennis shoes with some orange trim in them that I wear from time to time. Good question, though.
Shane, continuing with the orange theme today, some people call this the Orange Crush part of your schedule because you guys played these same teams in the 90s and early 2000s, way before you were here. What do you think of that term? And is it, a November for some great opportunities for your team collectively and individually? Yeah,
I think that the term is right on, Gene. It is. I mean, we're going to be seeing a whole lot of orange the next 3 weeks for sure, and it's absolutely an opportunity. There's the old saying, they remember November, and that's been something that's been said since I got into coaching. Coach Fulmer at Tennessee used to say that all the time to the teams when I was a graduate assistant there, and you do. And I think our guys realize that we got bowl eligible the first weekend in November, but we're not satisfied. There should be a great hunger, and there's a great opportunity to do some special things if we can do what we want to do here over the next 3 weeks. And it's an unbelievable challenge. I mean, it's a really good and improving Florida team, and then the next two teams that we're about to play after that were both ranked in the top, whatever it was last week, 5, 6 in the country last week. And so we know what a challenge it is, but with big challenges come unbelievable opportunities as well. But right now our focus is on nothing beyond this week and trying to be a better team this Saturday in Gainesville than what we were in Nashville last week.
Shane, I know you mentioned running a lot of the same offensive plays against Vanderbilt than you did against Missouri and going back. But how much of what you guys did Saturday is replicable moving forward into these final 3 games?
I think a lot. I know a lot, and it is. I mean, a lot of the things everything that we ran last week, I'm sure there's something, but there's really nothing that jumps off the top of my head, Colin, that was like a new play that we put in for Vanderbilt. I mean, it's things that we have been running this year, and some things that we've called this year, and it looked better last week than maybe it looked in previous weeks. But we going forward, a lot of it is, and all of it really, and to me is replicable. Certainly, we want to continue to expand roles, and we want to continue to be able to run the ball efficiently and take shots down the field and be good on the perimeter, which is what we were the other night against Vanderbilt. And but then, also you always got to stay kind of one step ahead, and we've got 9 games worth of video of opponents that are watching what we've done this season as well. So you got to continue to do a great job of self-scouting and staying one step ahead of your opponent also and what they're trying to do to stop you.
Coach, when you were an assistant at South Carolina, Billy Napier was an assistant at Clemson throughout that duration. So just from what you've seen from afar and maybe in the times that you two have crossed paths, what are your overall impressions of him as a coach?
Yeah, impressed. A lot of those guys, when I first got to South Carolina, Dabo was an assistant coach at Clemson. And then he got the job, and Jeff Scott, I guess, replaced Dabo as an on-field coach. And then Billy came in, and I guess my last year at Carolina was 2010. I think Billy was the coordinator that year, if I'm not mistaken. So somebody that got a lot of respect for. He did a good job when he was at Clemson, and then since he left Clemson, the stops he's had and the success that he's had as a coach and a recruiter. I mean, somebody that we certainly had respect for when I was here as an assistant coach, and then what he's done since he left Clemson's really, really impressive also, and did a great job at Louisiana as a head coach there, and is certainly on track to doing good things in Gainesville also.
Hey, Shane, going back to your last year as an assistant here, 2010, the win down at Florida, one of the biggest in the history of the Gamecock program. Yeah. What do you remember specifically about that night, especially the atmosphere and just overall impact that it had on the program?
Yeah, see, those are the good questions, Rick. I like those, man. In the sick, twisted way that I am, I remember that was a night game, stayed in Ocala. I remember my wife was on the trip, and we had some free time that afternoon, and we went for a walk. And I remember just vividly being on the walk thinking, okay, when we kick off to start the game, Do we want to kick to the left? Do we want to kick to the right? Left, right. Just kind of thinking back and through how do we want to start the game. And clearly I made the wrong choice because we kicked off and they ran it back for a kickoff on the opening touchdown in the game. And I'm like, you got to be shooting me right here on this one. Like the biggest game that we've had here at South Carolina. I remember Urban Meyer being on his coach's show the week before talking about we need to make the Swamp the loudest it's ever been this Saturday night, and how do we start the game by me as the special teams coach giving up a 90-something yard touchdown run, our kickoff return to start it. But then after that, I think about what an awesome night it was for South Carolina. I remember, just all three phases playing well. Marcus Lattimore and just the game that he had that night and just putting that team, on his shoulders and carrying us to victory and then running away with it, to be able to face that adversity on the first play but not flinch, and just some unbelievable great players that were on the field that night, and to it being pretty special for Coach Spurrier as well to win the SEC East in the stadium that he had so much success in. Also, that was an awesome night, and again, a validation and testament to what can be done here. We won the SEC East that night, and clinched an opportunity to go play in Atlanta for the SEC championship. So we showed that night that it could be done, and we're working really, really hard now to get back to that point and do it again.
I know you said it earlier that you're not quite at the receivers playing defense point, but in general with Gene playing running back and guys moving around, what goes into kind of giving a guy a crash course on a new position in the middle of a game prep week?
Yeah, it starts with the player first and foremost. I mean, they've got to be just football smart and intelligent, and those guys are. And certainly it's some extra meeting time and practice time. But I think the other thing too is you hopefully, when you're teaching and coaching your position, I always thought, and it's the truth as an assistant coach, like you really want everybody to have a big picture understanding of what's going on, not just, okay, you're the tight end, and when we call this, you're running this route. Having an understanding of what everybody's doing around you, so you could go to any position and just jump right in and have a good baseline from a learning standpoint, if that makes sense. So that's the biggest thing. It really is a crash course. It's like prepping for a test at the last minute or whatever it may be. And it's extra time and investing and good coaching and good teaching and good learning as well.
Shane, I know we talked about last year with Parker White. He should have been a Groza finalist. I imagine Kai will probably get some nods for the Guy Award. Do we need to start talking about the Heisman Trophy with him, or?
It would be a travesty if he wasn't one of the top guys in line for the Guy Award. I mean, he's phenomenal. He's just he's a talented punter, as we've shown. He's controlled field position for us. He's a weapon when the ball's in his hands. I mean, the throw that he made, the fake punt against Georgia was a great throw. The throw last week was a great throw to Tonka. And he's just a really, really good football player and a great leader for this football team. So, yeah, any accolades that come his way are well-deserved.
Getting kind of late in the season now, and I know you've had a lot of opportunity, or some opportunity at least, to watch some of these freshmen grow up a little bit, and wanted to see if you could comment specifically on your two freshman quarterbacks, or three, I guess, if you want to, and also Anthony Rose and Landon Sampson on how you've seen each individually progress.
Yeah, I think Rose has been really, really, really good. He's really doing well in the classroom, proud of him from that standpoint. And then he gets better on the field as well. Landon has worked hard to get stronger and change his body and be a solid receiver for us. He's done some good things and is on track. And then I like the freshman quarterbacks. Braden was obviously here during spring practice, so we saw him, and he's having a nice fall. Tanner Bailey, we actually took on the trip with us to Nashville last weekend. Tanner is one that continues to get better and really, really works to learn the position. And then Jalen Daniels also was a guy that he's got immense physical tools and really takes practice seriously and tries to tries to get better. And I've mentioned a couple times to you guys those Sunday evening practices that we have. The last couple of weeks, we've 2 weeks ago, and then even a little bit last week, we were out there maybe a little bit longer than I wanted to because we basically just scrimmage with the young guys, our developmental guys, at the end of the practice. I mean, and it is intense, and our players, our older guys, they take great pride in their side of the ball. And Rose made a great interception in that practice Sunday night. Jalen, Tanner, Braden, they've made some really good throws in that thing on Sunday night. So I'm excited about those guys. I'm really excited about the whole freshman class in general. They're doing great things off the field, academically and socially, and then they're really, really working hard and doing some great things on the field, whether it's a guy like Nick and DQ who are playing right now, or whether it's a guy like those guys you just mentioned that are redshirting at this point but making progress.
And I guess just to kind of follow up on that, it looks like a lot of those guys will be able to redshirt, but I guess they still have games that they could play in, or any of the freshmen who maybe haven't played a whole lot. Is that any guy you're looking to get on the field in special teams or in some sort of capacity now that their red shirts are secure?
No, but I think each week is different. Certainly the one position that would maybe jump out would be defensive back, just because one, our health back there, we are a little banged up, but two, because we play so many defensive backs. And, there were times against Vanderbilt the other night where we had 6 defensive backs on the field, like our 6 DB package. And when you're doing that, well, that's 6 bodies and 6 backups that you need, plus special teams as well. So certainly as we go through these last 3 regular season games and the bowl game, certainly we're continuing to try and bring some of these young defensive backs along that haven't played yet, but you hope you don't need them, but may need to be called on. We had Keenan Nelson on the trip. We took him to Nashville last week, one for the experience, but then 2, he's getting closer to playing. 1, because he's working really, really hard, and he deserves it, and 2, because we had some health issues last week in Nashville going into the game DB-wise.
Hey, Coach, you guys have won back-to-back road games for the first time since 2012.
That's a layup. Come on now.
Yeah. What are you telling your guys this week going into such a tough environment like the Swamp?
We don't talk a lot about it. Really, it's about us, and it always is. And, we just talked a little bit about it this morning, that it's one of the great venues in college football, and it'll be an awesome environment. It's a sellout. It'll be a great day down in Florida, and what a cool place it is. What a cool place it is to play. But beyond that, it's about us and preparing the right way to go play well. And, we don't make a big deal about where we're going into. We make sure they're aware of what it looks like. We'll go look at the stadium on Friday, which is something we've done this year, which is a little bit new, just so they can see it. But then after that, we really don't talk a whole lot about the road. We just try and keep the schedule, on the away games the exact same as the road games, other than we have to get on a plane or a bus and go where we're going. But other than that, it's the identical schedule, and just try and stay as much of a routine and process as we can.
Shane, Devani, and Cam, how are their statuses going into this week?
They're good. Cam's a little sick right now, so health-wise, I think he's fine. He's battling, a little bit of stuff like a lot of people are right now, but he should be fine for Saturday. And then Devani practiced today as well, and was fine.
Shane, I'm just curious. You guys, you win 4 games, everything's great. Missouri happens, it's like the worst thing in the world. Now you guys are back. How do you, as a coach, keep that insulated from your players so they don't spend too much time, especially given this age when, 10-year-olds are probably more savvy on social media than older people are?
It's me included. I don't think I'm old. It's hard. I think that's it really is. It's a huge challenge, because they're only here 4 hours a day, and then some of the time when they are here, whether it be down in the locker room or eating lunch or whatever downstairs, they're on social media. And there's just a lot of stuff out there that, when I first got into coaching, you had, a little bit of talk radio, you had the newspaper, and then you had like the actual, message boards. Other than that, that was it. And now it's just, there's so many more avenues out there. There's so many voices out there as well. So it is a challenge. I think for me, it's me just trying to stay consistent as the head coach, where I'm not just on an emotional roller coaster week to week about what has happened. You guys have heard me say it before. After a loss, after a win, we come in here on Sunday and we show the good, we show the bad, we learn from it, good and bad. And then it's go right back to work as well. But I'd be naive to sit here and say that, you block out everything, because I think I also probably need to be aware of what a lot of the things they're hearing out there are also. But just trying to be honest with our guys and real with our guys, where here's what is being, or here's what maybe the outside thinks. But here's what is real. Here's what we see on tape, and you guys in this building know what's really going on. And don't get me wrong, we're honest as all get out with those guys and truthful with them, and just try and be there, do that from that standpoint. And I know I said the thing after the game the other night, and to me that was more just the negativity with Marshawn being out, for example. Like, I wasn't on social media going to the game to see what people are saying about Marshawn Lloyd potentially not playing, but I can imagine there was doom and gloom. Oh my God, Marshawn's out. We're just as G-rated. We're out of luck, that we don't have Marshawn in this game tonight. How are we going to beat Vanderbilt? Yada yada yada. And we didn't talk one time with the team last week about Marshawn not playing. They know Marshawn's not playing or wasn't going to play after, Thursday's practice. But it wasn't like, hey, guys, Marshawn's not playing. We all got to rally. It's, we've dealt with injuries before. Quarterback situation last year and whatever it may be. DBs that were out this year for different injuries. It's just kind of like go to work and keep on going. And if you spend too much time worrying about who you don't have or what's being said and things like that, you're taking away from what you need to do, and that's getting ready to play each and every week, if that makes sense. Okay.
Shane, correct me if I'm wrong. Did you guys go to the away stadium on Fridays last year? Was that a thing? I guess why? What kind of went into adding that wrinkle, I guess, on a road trip?
Something I thought about. I had done it. We had other places I've been. Sometimes other places I've coached. Oklahoma, trying to think. Coach Spurrier did it a little bit. Sometimes he would maybe go see the stadium. A lot of times we did it like if it was a night game on the road, just to get him out of the hotel and go see the stadium and walk around a little bit. We did that some at Oklahoma and South Carolina both when I was here as an assistant. We didn't do that at Virginia Tech. We didn't do it at Georgia. We didn't do it last year. But for home games, we have meetings here, and then we go across the street and do our walkthrough on Friday afternoons in the stadium for home games. So it was twofold, Ben. One, just trying to kind of keep that same routine on the road. Okay, we do our walkthrough here in Columbia, but then we get on a plane or a bus when we go to Clemson, and we'll get off the plane and just go walk around the stadium, just trying to keep that routine. Then we leave the stadium and go to the hotel and start dinner and meetings like we do for a home game. So that was part of it. And then the other thing, too, was just trying to get some of the newness of it out of the way on Friday. We've got a lot of guys, transfers, freshmen that have never been to some of these stadiums. And when you walk into some of these stadiums, ours included, for the first time, it can be, oh my God, just how big they are. But so just being able to go on Friday, we were there for 15 minutes, but just to be able to go on Friday, see where the locker room is, see how you're going to get from the bus to the locker room, how you're going to get from the locker room to the field. Okay, here's what the stadium looks like. Here's where our sideline is. Quarterbacks, there's the play clocks. All right, everybody good? Let's go. And, we've been a little bit better on the road this year. I don't know if it's because of that, but that's how it started. I was just thinking about it over the summer as an opportunity to just see the stadium and not the first time we see it be on Saturday when we arrive. That's out of your system, and then all you're thinking about is just playing well.
And then just real quick, I think you guys have already dealt with hurricane stuff already. Is there any concern about the weather or anything like that with this week?
I don't think so. George Wynn, our assistant director of athletics for football ops, George has been in communication with everybody down there. I guess they've been having kind of like weekly, or not weekly, but daily updates and meetings, and doesn't look like there's any issues at all. And based on the text he sent me before I came in here, it looks like everything should be out of there by Thursday afternoon, and full speed ahead. But certainly the people above me are monitoring that as well. All right, thank y'all.